Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to MNC Group Investor Forum 2022 for group meeting of PT Erajaya Swasembada. My name is Andrew. I'm from MNC Sekuritas who will moderate this meeting. Now, before I'm going to start, I want to apologize for our lateness. Yeah, so now I'm continuing. Now the theme for this event is strengthening Indonesia's resiliency and transformation, which is in line with the effectiveness of various strategic efforts by the government in boosting economic recovery during the pandemic. In addition, the G20 presidency is the right momentum for Indonesia to contribute to the global economic recovery through the implementation of various strategies, transformation, integration, and synergy in all lines. Now, the 4-day conference will be attended by domestic investors and a network of investors abroad who have partnered with AGCO in more than 125 countries. This event is consisted of 3 days of corporate forum with the leaders of Indonesian listed companies and close with the highlight of the event, namely Macro Day, that welcome all participants to attend keynote addresses and dialogues from Indonesia's policymakers and capital market regulators. Now, to start the session, please allow me to give a warm welcome to Mr. Jeremy Sim, who is a Chief Strategy Officer of PT Erajaya Swasembada Tbk, who will present the business updates of Eraa, and as well as Mr. Jan Stefanus. So, without further ado, the management will start by presenting the latest update on Eraa, and we will follow that up with the Q&A session. If you have any question, participants can just type it on the chat box and I will read it to Mr. Jeremy Sim and Mr. Jan Stefanus. Or you can also use the raise hand feature and then I will lead the Q&A session. Okay, now I would like to invite Mr. Jeremy Sim and Mr. Jan Stefanus to give the company update of Eraa. Now, Mr. Jeremy Sim and Mr. Jan Stefanus, the time is yours.
Yeah, Andrew, thank you very much for the invite, and thank you very much for all the participants to participate in this interesting event. To start off with, I'll ask Ian, who's the head of our IR, to give a quick presentation about Erajaya today. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Pak Jeremy. Okay, thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. Appreciate your valuable time to participate in this event and your interest on Erajaya. So let me give you a background about Erajaya. Give me time about 15 minutes to give you the presentations. Okay, 1 second. Okay, can anybody see here? Okay. All right, maybe we can start with the background of Erajaya, right? Erajaya today. I believe that most of you are already familiar with Erajaya, but for some of you who don't, then maybe I can give you a color about the start of the business, right? Erajaya established in 1996 as a smartphone dealers. And I think when we start the business and our management aspire to become one of the largest players in the market, right? So I think we grew very fast. And in 2011, actually, we did the IPO because the aspiration for the company actually to grow to become one of the largest national distribution company of the business, right? And therefore, that in 2011 going forward, we believe that the company already succeeded to become one of the largest players in the handset business, right? As a distribution business model. After that, Erajaya also try to grow to the next level, that we try to be involved in our customers, right? So now we start to another business model to become one of the largest retail players in the industry. So now we conduct 2 business model. One is the distribution business model, and the other one is become the retail business model. And as for now, we already grew to more than 1,100 stores in Indonesia and becomes number one of the retailer and distribution for the mobile phone and also the telco business in industry. But I believe that I believe that Erajaya wants to grow more, not only in Indonesia presence, and therefore we also try to expand our presence not only in Indonesia but go to the Singapore and also Malaysia. Right? But I think the next class we're gonna give you the detail of the coverage in the Indonesia, Malaysia, and also Singapore. As a number one players in Indonesia, we believe that we already collaborate with major partnerships in various brands. But I think nowadays, if you look at the big players such as like Apple, Samsung, Huawei, Oppo, Vivo, those are the brands that actually we already built a relationship, very strong relationship. And in addition of the handset business, we also try to collaborate with other products such as like accessories and also Internet of Things. right? Such as like a DJI, Garmin, GoPro, and also nowadays we also recently try to expand our business beyond the handset, and we try to go to the other businesses, and we have already collaborated with several big players or big partners from around the world, right? Such as like a JD Sport. We also have collaboration with the Face Shop. We also have collaboration with Paris Market and so on. But that's the new strategy of Erajaya starting 2020, that we want to expand to the new business model, to new business opportunity. We call it the vertical. But there's a Erajaya Lifestyles, Erajaya F&B business. We call it Erajaya Food and Nourishment. And also we also try to focus more on the wellness and beauty. We call it the Erajaya Wellness and Beauty. But as for the capital market community, we're happy to announce that basically we have built a very good relationship also with the capital market community, such as investor and also analysts. Therefore, we believe that Erajaya already among of the various indices that be present in Indonesia at this moment, LQ45, Jakarta Islamic Index, Jakarta Stock Exchange, and others, is something that actually we're happy to mention that we are part of the indices. Right?
Hi, sorry for interrupting,
yes.
Mr. Yan.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Can you speak louder?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, now it sounds better. Thank you.
All right. Apologize. Okay. So I think if you look at underneath, we also happy to announce that in 2020, basically our company also recognized by a couple of the brand awareness, such as like Fortune Indonesia, Forbes Indonesia. For the Fortune Indonesia itself, actually we are the part of one of the top 100 companies in Indonesia, and also our chairman, our president director, Pak Budiarto Halim, also named person of the year in 2021 by Fortune Indonesia, while by also will announced as one of the top 50 companies in T1. Actually the milestone that we are happy to announce to everybody in this meeting. But on the right side, maybe a bit fact sheet of our performance after 9 months up to 9 months 2021. We already recorded 1.2 trillion as a sales by September 2021, and as a profitability, we already booked about 719.2 billion. But while for the total asset, we already have about 11.1 trillion by end of September 2021. While for the gearing ratio, our net gearing ratio actually is very healthy. It's about only 0.2 times, right, at this moment. Basically, in eyes of our creditor, actually we are a very healthy company at this moment. Let's go to the next slide. We go to the coverage of Erajaya at this moment, right? As I mentioned before, our presence not only in Indonesia, but also we have presence in Malaysia and also Singapore. Up to 30 September 2021, actually our presence in Indonesia is already reached about 1,100 retail stores, or 1,126 to be exact of the retail outlets. And also we have about 88 distribution center, and we have collaboration with more than 65,000 third-party resellers. Apologize that the numbers actually based on 9 months figures only, because we haven't discussed our full year, but we are quite optimistic that actually we already try to add more stores opening, because the company itself, we have the aspiration that to open about 200 up to 300 stores by 2021. And we believe that the demand and opportunity is still very, very there. And there's a room for us to grow, especially to the area that we haven't really penetrated yet, to the second or third tier cities. Okay, now let's go to the business update. In this slide, maybe I can give you a bit of color about what happened with Erajaya during the COVID situation, right? I think this is very important for the investors and analysts also, that they want to know that despite the COVID, how the Erajaya actually works, how actually get the profitability so far, right? Maybe we can start the journey by 2020, but in the beginning of the COVID, we believe that it impacted most of the businesses in Indonesia, if not in all the world, right? Around the world. So when we start to have the COVID by March 2020, we believe that the impact will be gonna be there in the following month, right? So if you look at the first month, the first quarter here, in the first quarter 2021, actually 2020, I'm sorry, actually we didn't really get the impact. But when there's a first PSBB, we call it PSBB at that time, right? Announced by the government, we need to close our stores, about 300 stores. Therefore, that actually we got the impact from our business, right? Because we need to close about 300 stores. So if you look at the trend of our productivity actually declining, right? This is basically the comparison between our productivity compared with the pre-COVID level, right? So if you look at the productivity actually declining from 91% to about 59% only. but with the proper strategy, right? The company actually very agile, to adjust the situation. Then we try to implement the right strategy. Therefore, that we can start to turn around our productivity from 59 only to become 84 in the following months. And there we also actually try to continue our strategy, and actually we managed to have a very good solid performance in the following one after. And in 2020 also, there's another milestone that actually we very appreciate from the government, which is there's an IMEI implementation, right? The regulation about the how we can try to protect the official player like us. So when the government initiate the IMEI control implementation, that actually it helps the company also to try to maintain our productivity level. So if you look at the trend, actually it's going up even until end of the years, right? So this is something that actually we are very appreciate, right, with what we've been doing, our team been doing, right? Because we managed to have a very positive performance despite the COVID situation. In 2021 also, right? If you look at here, the trend actually is still very, very positive, right? Above 100% of the productivity every month, right? In June 2021, actually there's a bit hiccup because there's another lockdown in Malaysia, where we have another business also in that area, right? But despite the lockdown, actually we still maintain to have a very good, quite decent performance, right? And follow also with another PSBB or PPKM. After that, we call it, right, that we need to close another 300 stores during that time, but we still managed to try to make a very good, solid productivity, right? Once the store resume to open again, actually we also can try to boost our productivity, our performance. So overall, we believe that I think with the right strategy, proper strategy, because we see that the demand is still very, very high in the market despite the COVID, despite the limitation that we had, we believe that this is something that actually can be a very benefit for our company overall. Okay, now let's go to the strategy that we've been doing since pandemic. Mobile selling Eraa Express is something that actually is quite new for us that we need to implement in the market. Mobile selling actually is the e-catalog or catalog that we try to blast to our customers, right? So the customer can get the latest product, latest promotion for them, right? To see. So even though they cannot go to our stores, but because of our fast database, our big database that we have, you can try to blast it via email, via WhatsApp numbers, right? So basically, customers can really get an update about the product in a bi-weekly basis, right? Eraa Express is something that also we try to announce it to our customers that basically once the customer order via mobile, via online, then in some area actually we can try to deliver the product within 3 hours only. And to top it off, actually not only using the third party courier service, but we also try to use our own sales specialists, our own frontliner to deliver the product to our customers. Why? Because we want to bring our customers' experience or offline experience to our customers' house, right? So once they get the product, the customers actually they also can try to communicate to discuss about the product itself to our sales specialist, the one that deliver to your house, right? So basically, this is something that actually is quite cutting edge for our strategy, right? And our customers so far give us a very positive feedback in this program, right? Because now instead of going to our stores, they can just get the similar experience that they can get even though they order it via Eraa Express or via mobile sellings, right? The other program that actually we try to push also the click and pick up. So this is actually one of the way for our customers, to purchase the product, right, via online. They order it via online, but they can after that they can try to pick it up in the nearest stores, right, or vice versa, right? So basically, whatever channels that actually the customer want to use, the preference that we can try to deliver it to our customers because we have the channel either offline or channel either online, right? The other strategy that actually we try to push also in terms of the online channels, right? So basically, inevitable, I think the COVID situation actually is forcing most of the businesses, right, to try to push more on the online strategy, right? Eraa, even before the COVID, actually we already tried to implement our own online channels, right? Basically, we have eraspace.com, but during the COVID, I think this is something that actually we try to push further. We've been very, very aggressive in this channel, right? Even until now, right? So a couple of things that actually we've been doing so far, right? Collaboration with the e-commerce players in the market. So I think if you go to e-commerce players in Indonesia, such as like Blibli, Tokopedia, or Shopee, basically you can find our own official stores over there. So basically the customer who really wants to buy it online, but they don't really like, they're a bit afraid if they just go to the other, stores, feel free to go to our official stores that basically we can try to provide the product and the service that's similar that we have in our offline presence, right? The other thing that we'll be doing actually the online exhibitions, right? So I think this is something that actually is quite new also. Before the COVID situation, at that time, our focus more on the offline events, offline exhibitions, right? But because of the COVID, we cannot really do the offline events, right? In the mall, in the shopping area, right? In the public area. Therefore, that we have to move it from the offline to the online events, right? But surprisingly, even the demands for this event actually is still very, very high, right? Even the customers, they very eager to, to participate in exhibitions, right? Even this, in fact, some of our online exhibition actually can generate much higher sales compared with our offline exhibition. So that means that actually even our customer, they don't really a bit skeptical about go to offline, but they can just go to the online and give you a very similar promotion, very similar like a bundling package that we can offer to our customers. So this is basically give us a very positive traction also in the end. Okay, strategy that actually we also doing right in 2021, right? Even until now, actually like we still try to push our store opening, right? So basically our expansion plan is still very aggressive for the past couple of years. 2021, the target actually is about 200 stores that we want to open. Until 9 months 2021, we already opened about 176, right? So this is something that actually we've been doing it since past 2 to 3 years back, where we try to be very aggressive to build our retail business model, right? So nowadays, like that actually in the big cities, maybe you can see more on the Eraa phone stores, right? It's very common. But I think if you go to the smaller area, smaller cities like second or third tier cities, maybe our presence is not that strong yet, right? That's why I think the aggressivities for this expansion is still there, even until now during the COVID situation, right? So now we try to push more on the second and third tier cities, new stores opening for the Eraa phone group, right? Either Eraa phone, either other stores like Urban Republic. Even nowadays we have the new businesses. We try to push it to open in the quick quarterly basis, right? Even for target for this year, actually we try to be more aggressive to open about 400 up to 500 stores, right? For 2021, 2022. Apologize. Okay. Now this is maybe a bit update on our initiative for the new business, right? As I mentioned in the first slide, that basically nowadays Erajaya also try to explore more on the new business initiative, right? A couple of verticals that actually we already set it up, right? One is for the Erajaya Digital, is still gonna be focused on the handset. Erajaya Food and Nourishment is gonna be focused on the F&B business. We have the Erajaya Active Lifestyle that will be focused on the lifestyle product related to our customers. And Erajaya Beauty and Wellness is going to be focused more on the healthiness and also the wellness of the product and also some of the pharmacy product that we're going to try to offer to our customers. A bit update of our new businesses, right? For JD Sport, this is part of the Erajaya Active Lifestyles. We're happy to announce that basically we already opened 2 stores already, right, in February 2022, right? So this is something that actually we try to push more on the active lifestyle businesses, right? While for the F&B business, we have invest in the Sushi Tei, right? This is a minority ownership for the Sushi Tei. And also the other one that we're happy to announce, actually, we already start the business with the Paris Baguette. This is a JV partnership with the Paris Baguette Korea. Then as for now, we already opened 2 stores so far. The first one you opened in November in Asta. The second one you opened in Senayan City by December or January, early January. And this month also, we expecting to open a couple of more stores, right, for the Paris Baguette, right? And the other for the Erajaya Beauty and Wellness, we happy also to announce that we have collaboration with our partner in Malaysia that we're gonna very soon that we're gonna open some of the pharmacy stores in Indonesia area. Right, I think we're gonna expect to open it starting second quarter 2022, right? Next quarter. Okay, now if you want to go to our financials, yeah, we believe that this is something that actually all of you already aware. right? Our presence in the market, despite the COVID, despite the pandemic, actually, we've been trying to push more on the sales, right? If you look at the sales numbers, actually increasing 35% year on year from 22 trillion up to 31.2 trillion. So I think this is something that actually we are very proud that our strategy works. We can capture the demand that's already very, very high in the market. But gross profit wise, we see that actually the number actually is still quite stable, still about 9.7%, right? Compared with the previous years, about 9.4%, right? Because of the email control regulation that actually make our industry getting more healthier, that makes the pricings in the market actually is already quite stable, and even we can try to maintain our gross margin, right? So this is something that actually is very, very good also in the eye of the players such as like Erajaya. Right, operating OPEX actually increasing about 20%. That because we also try to push more on the expansion plan, right? Therefore, our operating income actually is double up, right? From 585 billion to up to 1.1 trillion, right? Interest double up. Finance cost actually is quite stable. It's about 141 billion by 9 months 2021. And in the end, actually, our profitability actually increasing quite significantly from close to 300 billion in 2020 to become close to 720 billion in 2021, or in case about 144%. Right? If you look at the top box here, you see that majority of our sales actually still come from our cell phone business, but it's about close to 80% from our sales actually come from the handset business, and followed by the voucher business, about 88.6%, and also the computer electronic data is about 4.5%, and the other accessories, IoT, and other businesses actually contributes about 7.5% from our total business. Okay, if you look at in this slide, I think we can give you a bit of color about our balance sheet, right? Our balance books, right? Situation for 9 months. If you look at the debt, it's about 1.5 trillion, right, by September 2021, right? And our working capital is about 2.3 trillion. Actually, it's quite stable compared to previous years. Debt to equity, as I mentioned before, 0.2 times only. It's very, very low. That means that our company is actually in a very healthy basis. Right? Working capital to net sales is about 7.4%, declining from 10.2% in previous years. That means that we become more efficient in how we can try to generate the sales, right? So basically using the similar working capital, we can generate more sales. ROCE, return of our capital employed, actually also increasing quite significantly from 7.8% in September 2020 becomes 14.8% in September 2021, right? So basically this is something that actually is very good in the eye of our investors. If you look at the inventory days, that the numbers actually is about 34 days. Trade receivable is actually is about 9 days, and payables days is about 17 days. So our cash conversion cycle actually is in the eye is around like 26 days or close to 30 days. But overall, it's still very healthy, but we expect that basically the number should be a bit higher because of the inventory scarcity that actually we try to push more a bit in terms of the inventory. Right, because we know that actually the demand is still very high, we have to just keep the inventory in our company at this moment. Okay, last slide, maybe we can share about the volume handset and also the average selling price. So I think trending wise, you know that most of the people nowadays prefer to choose the smartphone rather than the feature phone. So if talking about feature phone is more on the 2G handset. That means that the handset that only capable to use voice and also the SMS services. Right, while the 3G and 4G, we call it smartphone. Nowadays, we call it the smartphone because it can give us the voice, SMS, and also the data services. Right, when we want to use the product itself. Right? So the trending actually is going down for the feature phone, while the smartphone actually is going going up, right? Eventually. So if you look at the 2018, you see that the trend actually is about 16.6 million that we can sell. But I think in the following years, actually, it's declining, right? From 16 to 13, 13 to 10. That's because our portion for the feature phone actually is already declining, right? As you know, a feature phone actually can give you a very quite affordable products to customers, right? But since now the smartphone actually is going up, that means that the trend for the feature phone is going down, while the trend for the smartphone actually is going up. So if you look at the comparison between 2020 and 2021, you see that the trend actually is already increasing, right? From 7.2 million to 8.4 million. That means that actually the base for our volume sales actually is mostly already come from the smartphone basis. So from 2020 to 2021, you see that the base actually is already much more on the smartphone basis rather than the feature phone. On the other side, the ISP actually is quite the opposite, right? Because I can mention that actually the feature phone actually at that time is quite high, but the ISP, the average selling price actually is very, very low. That's why I think the ISP in 2018 actually is only 1.7 million only, right? But because of the decline of the feature phone and the rise of the smartphone, you see that the ISP actually increasing, right, in the yearly basis from 1.7 to 1.9, 2.5, even now become already 2.9 million in 2021. That's because the smartphones already much higher compared with the feature phones. So I believe that actually the room for growth is still very, very grow. The room to grow is actually still very, very there, right? Because we believe that the average selling price at this moment is about 2.9, actually something that actually is quite affordable in the market. And we believe also the principals, they've been very eager, you know, to keep producing the new product of the smartphone with the latest technology that actually is going to be very compelling for our customers to purchase it, right? So I think that the room for growth, room for the smartphone business, like in the following years, actually is still very, very high for the demand. Okay, I think that's it for the slide from Erajaya. Maybe we can start with the Q&A. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yan, for the presentation. Now we're in the Q&A session. Let me repeat myself. If any of you have any question, participants can just type in on the chat box or raise hand. So before I open the floor to the participants, let me ask for the first question. So Mr. Yan or Mr. Jeremy, with the potential of the 5G network, can you please share us about the correlation between the 5G technology and the smartphone sales, and how will this benefit Eraa? Thank you.
I think that's interesting. I think 5G is not just talking about smartphones. I think 5G is talking about IoT as well. So imagine the applications of IoT, right? You're talking about in telemedicine, in remote controlled operations, and so on. It's all possible with 5G because of the very, very quick response time. I think it's not just about whether you're a consumer and you are getting your downloads in a few seconds or milliseconds, as opposed to, let's say, waiting 30 minutes or so on for a download of your favorite movie. I think that's the difference. The scope of application, we have to think way ahead, far, far ahead, and understand what the implications are to the industry. I think it will not just drive consumer experience, it will also drive new innovations, new ideas, which requires real-time, instantaneous response. I think these you have seen in the areas of smart cars, self-driven cars, autopiloted cars, in the areas of medicine, whereby people are applying remote area control operations and so on. All these things are all possible because of 5G, right? And that's why, you know, think about that impact to the economy, to the country on a much larger scale. So imagine if, let's say, for example, a local doctor is doing an operations here, he now can get instantaneous guidance and consultation with an expert in Johns Hopkins in US or wherever. I think that's the difference itself. So these are things which Erajaya is also thinking about and looking at how it would impact our IoT business, it would impact our medical health and beauty that Yan has been sharing about. These are all very, very interesting areas of application beyond consumer usage of 5G. A lot of exciting things are going to come up from there.
Thank you for the wonderful answer, Mr. Jeremy C. Now, I have another question. It's from Miss Lucy May, and she asked if is it possible to disclose your guidance and target number so we can see like the better estimation result in the 2022, and maybe from the top line, bottom line target, or EBITDA margin, and how big a contribution was made from the food and beverage, from the cosmetics and JD Sport businesses to Eraa's total revenue?
I will break down that answer. You know, guys, don't want to disappoint you guys, but over the years, as a public listed company, we have sort of taken a policy not to be over aggressive, as well as not to be over conservative in terms of our guidance So over the last 2 years or 3 years, you'll find that we have never given official guidance in the market. And instead, what we did was we work with analysts that we know, and we ask for their views, what they think the market is expecting from us. Okay, and we always aim to overachieve that. I think 2021 is similar. I think we started the year lowballing Erajaya, and then at the end of the year, somehow when we looked again, Erajaya's profit target was 1 trillion. Let's see. Let's wait in a couple of weeks when we release our news, that whether we can actually exceed your expectations or not. That's what we like to do right now. We work with analysts and we let the analysts tell us what the market expects. And then, we go the other way around and we try to overachieve what the analysts are speaking about. Okay? So it's an interesting strategy built because of previous experiences. We find that if we set a target which is too low, investors won't be happy and they'll be questioning it. If we set a target that's too high, neither will investors believe it. And, it just makes things difficult for us. So it's really a negative, no-win situation for us. So we've taken a very different approach, Andrew, with regards to forecasting. But what I will do is I will give you a guidance of what's happening to our new businesses. I think if you looked at our new foray into new businesses such as JD Sports, we are very happy with that. The first 2 stores that we actually opened have shown very, very strong response from the market. I think even when we launched the online is performing just as well as a single store, which is amazing. I think the powers of JD, our partner, is clearly demonstrated when we opened the store. For example, the amount of limited editions or exclusive products that we could get was amazing. That actually drove a lot of young generations to queue and run into the stores even before store opening. I think that's one of the things that's happening in JD stores today. I think when you look at our latest figures with Grand Lucky, we did a venture with Supermarket Grand Lucky. You'll find that our first 2 stores that we did a joint venture with them are within, if I look at peers in the market, we are actually doing multiple times above their productivity levels in terms of profit margins and so on. So it's amazing that we are seeing very good returns on our Grand Lucky venture as well. We are also very happy with our Paris Baguette. I think Paris Baguette is a venture that's new into, relatively new. Of course, the first one we went into Sushi Tei, and then now we are into Paris Baguette. And Paris Baguette has gone beyond our expectations for the last 3 months or so. I think we have been hitting above our budgeted targets and so on. So we're very positive about all that. But again, these are new industries. We have very good partners to learn from. We are still learning the industry. So give us some time, and hopefully over, not this year, I think this year is still a year where we're still learning. So give us some time to learn. But over the next few years, we will see more and more contribution to the bottom line. These new businesses that we are building are not necessarily very big on the top line, but they are definitely going to uplift the gross margins as well as the profitability of the entire company.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Mr. Jeremy C. Now, yeah, we have also like another question is from Mr. Harry Wakidin. Yeah, he asked, does Eraa also open up possibility of seeking strategic investors as part of his expansion strategy? Thank you.
Yes, we definitely do. I think we are, I think in this week, we'll be announcing another very strategic partnership in a related field that we have with a foreign company. One thing that you will notice, Andrew, and all the participants, is that Eraa has chosen a very different path from being a, let's say, franchisee. All right. So we could have gone out, we could have gone to Paris Baguette and say that, let us become a franchisee, or we could have gone to an international supermarket and say that, can you let us become your franchisee? And I think that we would probably get the franchise agreement. But we know that beyond just the simple method of franchising, you need to know the business to its core. We really believe in that. And therefore, in all new businesses, what we have done is we have actually strategically partnered with a partner who is really good at what they do. So for example, JD Sports, is our JV partner. It's not a franchise, it's a JV partner. And you will frequently see the people from UK sitting in our stores because they are a partner who's helping us to build the business up. Okay, and it's amazing. For example, if we were to do it as a franchise, for example, we will not have the kind of negotiation power against the brands like Nike or Adidas. But because we are part of that global purchase, we're able to bring in some of the most limited editions, most of exclusive products, and at a price which is really, really very competitive, even against the big boys in Indonesia today. So that is the scales that we are talking about, accelerating the scale of the business. Again, most of our new ventures where we are quite new to the business, we have preferred to do that mode. Paris Baguette is another example where SPC Group from Korea, we're very honored that the largest F&B outlets in Korea, SPC Group, has chosen us to be a joint venture partner instead of just a franchise agreement. We are one of the first partnerships that they have done overseas, and they have taken a minority, they have taken a back seat, but in reality, they're also taking a front seat in terms of driving the know-how and the operations as well and passing it on to our local team. So these are things that we are doing. So they took a 30% stake, but they are very actively involved in the driving of the business as well, which is good for us so that we make less mistakes. We drive the business at a standard or level which is applicable to the brand. Grand Lucky is another brand where, instead of saying that, let's take on a supermarket, we have gone to a partnership where strategically we have partnered with them. We allow them to drive the business, but we add value to them in terms of technology. We have just signed up a joint venture company with the Grand Lucky Group to bring them to an omni-channel experience and bring them from a brick and mortar company to become a more digitally enabled company as well, which is very important in this time. Andrew, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jeremy Singh, for the wonderful answer. Now, we have one last question. It's from Mr. Rio Alfajiri. So he asked about what is Eraa's strategy to prepare for inflation, which has been predicted in 2022.
Yeah, I think the first thing starts off with understanding what inflation levels are at. If you look at inflation levels that are official, it's very low. We estimate that the real inflation this year would be a lot higher than that. Our SSSG is our key KPI or measure that we have to make sure that our profitability is not eaten up by inflation. SSSG means same-store sales growth, given that we are now more than 50% on retail. Okay, so one of the things to make sure is that whatever you do, your SSSG per store stays above the inflation rates, whether it could be an inflation on the rental or it could be an increase in the salary scales and so on. I think basically we have an SSSG target of about 10% for our group internally. So which means that any store that has been around for a year old should show at least a 10% increase month on month. We have been getting somewhere around 8 to 13% depending on the month, but I think overall we're still tracking a bit above 10% so far. That is a typical strategy of the group to ensure that we are always above inflation. Number two is, of course, technology. I think one of the things that we have done is we realized that we have grown from a 2,000 headcount company in 2011 to 11,000 headcount company in last year. Okay, and this is amazing growth, but it's also a scary growth because our main overheads are either salaries or rentals. We are investing a lot in technology, paperless technology, reducing the amount of paperwork, enhancing efficiencies, improving channel productivity through more channel sales, and so on. That helps us to be much more productive. I'll give you an example. Our virtual exhibition through online was actually 4 times higher than our highest sales of our physical exhibition, which was amazing. We did an iBoxing week, which we always do 2 or 3 times a year. Virtually right now, and it's about 4 times higher than a typical week's offline sales. We invested very heavily, for those of you who don't know about it, but last year we are spending about $12 million in CapEx just to improve our whole IT system end to end. I think we are one of the very few distribution retail companies that's really focusing on technology, because we believe that at the end of the day, productivities needs to be measured, and number two, productivities needs to be enhanced through the proper usage of technology. That's where we are today.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Mr. Jeremy Sim. Now, yes, since time is almost up, like I'm apologize if we like cannot answer all of the questions from the chat box or from the raise hand feature. Okay, now last but not least, Mr. Jeremy Sim, can you give us like some closing remarks to conclude today's session? Thank you.
Yeah. I think in line with the topic of having resilience and amidst this COVID pandemic, which is moving towards an endemic, I think, the challenge is having that crystal ball as to when the market will become more stable, right? I think if you look at any businesses in Indonesia or around the world, it's consistency rather than anything else that affects us, right? So when lockdowns are tightened, and then the initial reaction from consumers would be to look at it from a very negative standpoint, stay away from the malls, stay away from crowded areas and so on. It comes back, yeah, but it really depends on a lot of information dissemination that has to take place in the market so that people are more aware of what's happening in the market. But eventually, I think the group also believes that we're going to move from a pandemic situation to an endemic situation. It's going to become like any day's flu, right? Although people will have different habits as to how they shop, how they do their social activities. I think that will change in the longer term, for the longer term, not in the longer term, for the longer term. Anticipating that is going to be very important. And it's not just an overnight change or transformation in the company. I think Erajaya has been very lucky because we started our transformation exercise even as early as 2 years ago. So it's not an overnight change. When you see us doing new things, when you see us implementing technologies that are cutting edge, it's all because we started investing even a year or two before the pandemic. For example, our CRM was built before the pandemic, and during the pandemic, of course, the CRM customer database now has reached more than 5 million people, and we're growing by a few 100,000 every month. And we're very lucky that we have done that because that has proven to be a very effective customer acquisition or reacquisition tool during this pandemic. These are things which has to be seen with a foresight rather than a hindsight, because you cannot get those things up within the next few months or so. And we're quite lucky that we have a good management team who is able to see that as a foresight. Right, back to you, Andrew.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jeremy Sim. Okay, now thank you for to also Mr. Jan Stefanus for the comprehensive presentation, also to Mr. Jeremy Sim. Now, to all participants, that concludes our call for the session. So for your information, we still open the registration of the Macro Day MNC Group Investor Forum that will present notably policymakers for ministries of Republic of Indonesia, Indonesia Financial Services Authority, and Indonesia Stock Exchange. So don't miss this event. So, and I would like to personally thank all of you for attending the call today, and also to the management of PT Erajaya Swasembada Tbk or Eraa. I also have a thank you to Mr. Jeremy Sim, and also thank you to Mr. Jan Stefanus, and as well as Ibu Vivi Widiantria for attending this event. Now I'm going to end this meeting. So thank you for attending this call today. See you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.